Howdy folks, Craig Lavati here at the Houston Museum of Natural Science and the Beyond Bones Zoomcast. I'm in Houston, obviously these guys were in Taiwan, so we let Kat sleep in, or whatever Kat does in the morning. Either way, it's just me and the two artists from Treasures in Gold and Jade.
I will say good evening to those friends from Taiwan, including the Master Wu Ching and the Master Huang Shou and James Zhao. And good evening to the friends in Houston. My name is Robert Lo, the Director General of Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Houston. On behalf of TECO in Houston, I would like to extend my most sincere greetings and thanks to those Taiwanese most outstanding artist and master. Mr. Wu Qin and Mr. Huang Shou is the treasure of Taiwan. We are very honored to share those best of contemporary carving from Taiwan with Greater Houston. Because as I know, Mr. Wu Qin and Huang Shou are also living in Hualien, Taiwan, right? I was also born in Hualien. So I'm very proud. I am very proud. I am from Hualien. Yeah. I'm very proud to be with you today. And I'm very, very, very honored to see that Mr. Wu Qian and Mr. Huang Shou from Hualien are here in Houston to share, to witness your great performance. Once again, I would like to thank the Houston Museum of Natural Science for hosting this talk so that we can make some very, very special exchange on cultural sector. As I know, the museum is one of the best museums in the United States. I'm very, very honored to witness that both of you are cooperating to host this great exhibition in Houston. This is the honor of Houston. I hope that more people in Houston, even in the Texas or across the country, can come to Houston to see those wonderful and amazing masterpieces, because this is really the honor of Taiwan. Thank you once again, and I hope that you have very successful and fruitful talk today.
Thank you very much, Robert. Thank you for logging in with us. It's early for us here in Houston, and it's late night for those guys. So we'll try to get them to bed soon, and our day is just starting. So
that's right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Howdy, folks. Craig Lavati here with the Houston Museum of Natural Science and the Beyond Bones Zoomcast. This is a very special episode. We're recording this earlier in the morning than usual. Kat is probably still asleep. And so we're going to be talking to the two master artists from Treasures in Gold and Jade, which is currently on display at the museum inside the Brown Gallery. It's really easy to find. It's a very beautiful, beautiful exhibit. And today we are excited to be with Wu Qing and Huang Shou, direct from Taiwan. They are logged in and ready to chat with us. I'll try to be a little bit more simple in my language and not be so long-winded. So James here is our translator, and I'm going to try to give James a break if I can. So James, thank you for facilitating this.
No problem. It's my pleasure to do it.
Thank you very much. And you're in Houston, so you're up early too. So there you go. There we go. All right. Let's start it off with thank you very much for logging in with us, guys.
谢谢他们，谢谢你们今天早上能够参加我们这个讲演。
那我也谢谢他们，辛苦他们，这么早就来配合我们了。
也谢谢大家哈，这么起一个大早啊，谢谢。
Mr. Wu and Mr. Huang want to thank you. Everybody can get up so early to participate. This is a talk or to hear this talk.
And it looks like me and Mr. Wu there, we sort of have the same style going on.
他说吴先生，你的迄个目镜甲伊这共款，啊，佮头壳佮两个拢光头。
There we go. There we go. Awesome. And then, so let's talk about Gold and Jade. It's a very popular exhibit at the museum. Tell us about the artwork. You know, how special was this artwork for you, and how special is it for this artwork to be touring the world?
伊讲，这个展览在首先是真成功。啊，伊要知影讲，这物件啥哪会讲做啊遮好，会当做啊遮成功。
哦，这就爱讲我吼，我是如果是一粒种子，我就幸运会当掉落去这个台湾，就是福尔摩沙的嘉南平原，吼，啊，阮爸爸、阮妈妈从细汉就互我真自由。吼，真自由，拢咧做，拢咧对我的兴趣，因拢无阻碍。啊，所以我就开始做梦，开始就有自由的想法，啊，慢慢啊，培养这兴趣起来。啊，16岁的时阵，我看到阮同学开始咧做木雕，啊，我就开始有兴趣，啊，开始一直研究落来。吼，啊
Mr. Wu say he's born in Taiwan and he's very lucky to born in Taiwan. And because his parents give him all the freedom to do all the work. And so since his age of 16, he started to do all this the artwork.
So what, does Mr. Huang want to chime in?
先生，我你讲。
是我大概小的时候就抱着用一辈子的时间把一件事情做好的这样心态呢，在经营或者从事这个艺术工作，所以我想是这样的因素吧才能够把这个玉做到这个层次。
Mr. Huang said he always keep in mind is just do one thing, and he want to do one thing from the best. And so from his childhood, he has this belief that is to support him to continue to do the J work to make it up to this level.
So he's concentrated on one thing and he's done it really well.
That's correct. Correct. Only 你坚持一项代志，把这个业务做得最好的。
Okay.
So I've noticed from both of the artists, they use a lot of this very intricate work. How difficult is the intricate work to do on even your eyes or your hands?
伊个问题是讲，恁今仔日展览的这物件拢真细项，恁安怎会当用恁的目睭，会当用恁的手，该做个遮水、遮好、遮水。
哦。我一向的信念就是讲别人做过的物件，我无要做，别人无法度做的，我再来做一寡创新。所以我是一世人拢在做创新兼做研创，所以我用真侪时间来咧累积，包括讲伫这过程早期，我20几岁就开始。心浮气躁，咧做木雕蚂蚁的时阵，就心浮气躁，就开始打坐，就开始打坐，互家己从定静下来，才法度做到这样一份物件。因为你若静落来，你若专注，迄个物象就感觉变大。
Mr. Wu said he always believed you got to do something very, very well. And so he don't want to do something the people already did. He want to create something new. And that's his belief on all this artwork. So when he was about 20 plus, he was very, the mentally very, very unstable. Let me use it's not really right word, but it's about that. So he tried to calm down himself, try to take the Buddhism to sit down, and then just make himself to come down. And once he come down by himself, he can do very small detailed things well.
So in a sense, doing the artwork sort of it calmed his notes, it calmed his emotions.
That's correct. 所以伊是讲你咧做时阵，你拢用心安静落来，你就会当做会当甲物件做得好。
这是基本要件。
He said this is really basic element to create this art.
Is the emotions being very, very muted, I guess.
That's correct.
嘛袂使有束缚哦。
And you don't want to be something, other things to bother you or something to tie you up, so you don't have that creativities.
Ah, okay. So it's you have to have a lot of patience and sort of a steady emotion to do such small artwork. And I would assume the same thing for Mr. Huang too.
所以黄先生，他说你也是需要这些耐心，还有这些定力去做你这些的玉的工作，对不对？
好，是这样子的哈。首先，因为玉这种材质是大自然的矿物哈。它有很多的不确定性，所以呢，这个首先我花了差不多将近10几20年的时间在研究这个玉的性质哈，所以说也就是要有最好的玉质，才有可能让技巧在这个天然的矿物上去把它做到这么微小、这么细或这么薄哈。这并不是每一块玉石都能达到，这是自然的部分。那人的部分呢？当然，从内心的部分去研究，去对自己的了解，对自己的定心定力，还有对大自然的观察，综合这些因素，也就是人跟自然，矿石就自然的东西，人就是本身的修为的部分，综合在一起，少了一个部分，也就是说，矿石没有达到这么好。我也没办法完成这样的作品，人达不到也完成不这样的作品，所以这两个互相结合在一起，才能达到这样的境界。
Okay, let me try to summarize it. So Mr. Huang said, as for the jade, because it's a natural mineral, so it's a very unpredictable of his quality, the jade's quality. So in order to do that, you got to not only have a patient, you need to understand the rock. You need to understand the jade, this mineral, from your heart. So you and the mineral can connect it together. So that is a very important part of doing jade because it's the jade's hardness and the mineral character. The other thing besides that is your personality. You need to connect with the jade. So when you have that connection with the jade, you'll be able to do whatever is the best from the rock. Not every jade can be carved as good as the other one. So every jade is different.
So it's sort of, I would say that, many artists say the same thing about their mediums where even if it's paper or it's stone or even if it's, music, you really do need to connect with the medium in order to make it shine.
他是说，所以在黄先生讲的是说，不管任何的音乐啦，或者是说其他的艺术上面，也都是需要这人和这个物能够连接在一起。
是。
Mr. Huang agree with that?
Yeah.
You sort of have to be one with the jade and then make something really interesting out of it. And I never thought about that, about the stone itself being so almost finicky, where you have to make sure that you are getting just the right, perfect quality. That goes back to another question I had for them guys. Where do you get the materials?
他的问题是说，你们这些材料都是从哪里出来的？
玉来讲。来，吴老师。
黄金的话，那就没有什么特别嘛。那我就配合一些复合媒材，哈。然后呢，我早期呢，复合媒材就是有陶瓷啊，有很多的组合，最主要是黄金，黄金当然是要去买，然后我早期呢，就是说我早期是做木雕，那木雕的话，我是用黄杨木，黄杨木是所有的雕刻里面最好的木头，我是早期有用黄杨木过，比方说像这个圆球蝉，这个是我的木雕，这个是我的木雕，它的薄度只有报纸的1/3的薄度，它是用一块原木雕刻出来的，就是慢慢一刀一刀把它雕的完整。它是一个圆球蝉，就是我们现场有一个金跟银，这个是木雕，它是原来的木雕，它只有报纸的1/3的薄度，它就报纸1/3的薄度。
OK，
它是一块木头。
我先给翻译一下哈。The gold Mr. Wu used actually is not particularly from any place. Basically, he just bought it from the market, and then the piece he showed just now, that's just a mold, or he started with all the wood carving. So the wood carving he used boxwood. He said the boxwood actually is the best material or best wood for doing the carving. And so the bowl he showed, the material he showed, the art he showed just now, that's just one piece of boxwood, and he carved it. And the leaf is very thin, so he need to be very, very careful to carve it. And that is only 1/3 of the paper width, what he said, or the newspaper weight in Taiwan.
I saw that. Yeah, it was very flimsy. Or not flimsy, but it was definitely. Movable. Yeah, you don't imagine that. That's insane.
And the most important is that that's just one piece of wood.
That's patience right there. I was going to say the one thing I was going to say, James, to them both. Their artwork shows a very high level of patience that I don't think many people have that aren't artists.
他说你们做的东西非常需要耐心，不是一般的艺术家能够做到的。
对，这是先决条件哈，一定要做到这个部分哈。那个就玉来说哈，这种矿物哈。它跟其他地表上的矿物不太一样的地方，就是说玉它有韧度，它有韧性，有韧度啊。所以当我找到它这样特性之后呢，我才能够去发挥我要对作品的技法的表现，这是一个先决条件哈。那当然并不是说每块玉都有那么好的条件，有时要找到最好的那玉的玉质，才能够表现。这样的作品，这样的技法，这样的一个作品的内在生命才能够被表现出来。
Mr. Huang said, "As for the jade." 黄先生，你的玉是从哪里来的？
我们台湾也有。那我现在用的大部分都是加拿大的矿物，加拿大的加拿大的碧玉，当然还有翡翠大概最主要是有2种。那个材料的来源大部分用的是加拿大的跟缅甸的这2种。
Mr. Huang said most of the jade he used is from Canada or Burma, and some of them from Taiwan. And he also mentioned because the jade in the geology we call this is a different crack, so different type of the fracture direction. So when he tried to do the carving, he need to be very, very, very careful to identify the character of each jade. Not every piece of jade can do the same thing.
That makes sense because it's the rock. There's so many different variables, so he has to I would assume too, this is a good question as well for him. I would assume that there's probably sometimes where he will start a piece and then the jade will not cooperate and you have to start over on it with new materials, right?
黄先生，所以他说，那你在刻的时候，也有可能说你刻到一半，发现这块玉没有办法做到你所需要的，那你那个时候你是不是要重新开始？
对，这放弃，我已经达到我想要的那个表现那个程度，我才会让它完成。不然，对，那个我们刚才讲到玉，它是一个大自然的矿物哈，它里面有它不确定性的因素存在。有时候做到一半或创造到一半的时候，那泪痕从里面跑出来，那就是外表没办法判断的部分。所以说，假如说没办法改的话，那就重来了，这是经常发生的事情。
Mr. Huang said, if the piece doesn't work through the midway, he will just discard it, throw it away, and restart it. And he said a lot of the jade, because the jade is a natural mineral, so have a lot of unpredictable inside the jade, particularly inside the jade. So when he carved into the middle of the jade, if the jade has some fracture or some spot or something doesn't work, he need to just discard it and start from beginning.
So even like a small imperfection can ruin a whole piece, it seems like.
所以有任何小小的瑕疵都能够把你的作品都重新开始。
Yeah, 是。
Yeah, yes.
He's gonna say, yeah. This is a question from Mr. Wu. A lot of our patrons and a lot of our volunteers have been asking about the use of ants in the art. So, sort of, what do the ants what do the ants signify?
黄先生有很多参观的人，他们都一直认为讲，想让你来用遐多高虾在这作品内底，所以高虾是代表什么物件？
因为高虾就是我要追求创新，因为就是在讲创新嘛，一个开始的这个所在，我嘛要拍我家己的这个写实的比例的迄种工业就对啦，然后再找一个详细来做麻油的题材。较早我咧做的时阵，迄阵开始我20几岁的时阵，西方迄边拢在讲照相写实，新写实，拢找一个专题，拢在做创作。我迄时阵嘛是安尼应用，再找一个专题。其实蚂蚁是一个所谓群组的一个小昆虫、小动物，是跟我因缘上亲的。
Okay. Mr. Huang said the reason Mr. Wu, I'm sorry. Mr. Wu said the major purpose of use ants because he liked to create something nobody did before. And this is one of the animal he can have his creativity to make it. And the most important is he tried to make it ratio is exactly the same as the real ants. And when he was 20-something years old, he saw that some of the photographer is trying to capture the real thing. So that one give him the idea of what he want to do is to create something exactly the same as a real life. And the other thing is he think that the ants is a community type of animal. They live as a group, they live as a society, they live as together, and that's something he really think is important.
So almost, I would say that ants are sort of a good, how would I put this? Ants are a good example for humans to follow. If we just work together, we can be like the ants.
伊讲安尼是不是讲伊这个高下是咱人类的一个真好的真好的例，真好的例，我咱会当做大家团结做伙。
对， 应当是若讲伊这也做因咧讲的这个社会主义哈，社会主义是蚂蚁甲蜜蜂是最完整的甲完善的一个社会主义的一个群体。我研究几啊年我饲蚂蚁就饲2年了，我有饲过2年，甲融合了，才开始做一系列的物件，饲2年。
He said, based on the socialism, there's 2 animals. It's the most community oriented. One is the ants, one is the bees. So actually, he say he raised ants for 2 years. He worked with ants. He raised the ants for 2 years. He observed them to get the idea of each ant.
So you sort of you raise ants to learn about the ants.
所以你饲狗遐，再去了解这个狗遐。
我若要去吸啥物，拢会饲啥物。我要吸兰花饲兰花，我要吸蝗虫饲蝗虫，我要吸鸭就去饲鸭。
He said, if he want to carve some animal or any type of the plants, he will raise them. So, for example, on his display, he has moth orchid. So, in that case, he will go ahead raise the moth orchid by himself to understand it, or any like a duck or like a what do you call mantis. Or cicada?
Yeah, cicadas, mantises, things like that. Okay, so he sort of lives with them in a sense, so he can observe them and get their physicality down, and it makes better art.
That's correct. This is what he is saying.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
So so if he raises things and a lot of his things are built on real life, he's got to tell me about the skull piece. Is that supposed to be him?
所以你饲这物件，所以你会当去看到因的真侪无共款的迄个角度，你会当去创造这物件。
我先甲伊，当然我饲的过程，其实咱蚂蚁，咱甲看蚂蚁是，敢若一种全世界有3000几种，台湾有300几种，伊的族群嘛有几啊种的族群，迄种官家己敢农夫敢咧饲一寡伊的种类来咧食，迄种蚂蚁也有专门咧小撮的蚂蚁，嘛有专门迄种强盗蚂蚁的族群，各个的族群拢无共，所以我嘛用几年的时间去研究，然后了甲伊融合了，比如讲我做啥物会甲伊融合了，甲用我的感情，用我的看法，搁甲下去咧做一系列一个创作。
He said, you're right, and he uses ants as an example. He said there are more than 3,000 different type of ants in the world, and even in Taiwan, we have more than 300 types of ants in Taiwan. And then the ants, although you have so many ants, each ants have a different function. It's like bees have a different function. Some will build a community. Some will even the thief type of the ants. So he raised them, he observed them, and then so he has his emotion with the ants. He communicates with ants, and so he can create all this art piece.
That is really interesting. Has he ever thought about raising any other animals, like anything bigger?
伊问你讲，你敢有想要讲其他的，有想要饲其他较大只的
也有想养老虎，但是现在还没有养老虎，没有环境养老虎。
He said he would like to raise the tiger.
There we go. Okay, tigers would probably be expensive and dangerous.
伊讲一只好可能真贵，佫真危险，你要小心。
开玩笑。
Here's a. Go ahead. Sorry.
王先生，你要不要补充？
喂，你要不要补充？那个 我这样的创作其实最早的来源是来自于我对那个，因为玉石文化在东方有8000多年的历史啊。那来到这个年代，我接触了这样的一个艺术文化，这个艺术的艺术啊，我想啊，每一个时代都有每个时代的一个玉石的风格。那到我这个年代，我想要创新，我要如何留下这个时代的一个记录啊？这项东方这么古老的文化里面，有一些新的生命、新的一些看法、诠释啊，留在这个时代留在一个时代的一个记录、一个驻点啊，是这样。
Mr. Huang said, as far as for jade, jade had been used for more than 8,000 years in Oriental history. And so every generation or every decade, they have a different type of the creativities from jade. So Mr. Huang tried to capture today's the society, even the society or his creativity is new to this or new and fit for this society. So that is his main purpose of preserve what we have in this decade or in his lifetime.
There's so many questions that are coming in from our volunteers about Mr. Huang's work. And a lot of people are asking about the poems and just they wanted to compliment the poems about how beautiful they are, but also too, the poems and the artwork sort of work together as counterpoints.
黄先生他说我们这边参观的人对你作品和那个诗连接在一起非常感兴趣，认为那些诗都是很好的。那你怎么样把这个诗和你的那个作品连接在一起？
这是到才开始创作的时候，前面我有讲过我这些作品是在前面准备了20年的时间，20年对玉材的研究，对玉石的研究，各种性质，还有它能够到达什么程度之后开始做创作的时候呢，平常我们假如要去诠释，或者是诠释作品创作理念，或全部这件作品的内容的时候呢，我发觉诗是更能够把一个作品的意境诠释传达出来，所以我就用诗的形式配合了作品把我要创作这件作品的内容跟创作理念跟这件作品的内在生命，透过诗的方式来诠释，让观众知道。那因为我发现诗的那个意境能够把作品的意境传达到我想要的那个细腻度跟那个深远的意境是在这个地方。
So Mr. Huang said he had been done the research about the jade for more than 20 years before he actually do all this work. And after he understand the jade, he start to feel like the point actually can connect his insight to do this the art pieces. So when he do the art pieces, he try to express what does the point say and what does the jade can tell. So he combined the point and the jade pieces together. He can create something new and something meaningful for the art.
So the jade pieces and the poems are together. They're not separate things. They're together.
所以那个诗和那个玉的作品是连接在一起的。
对，每一首诗都是为这个作品而写出来的。
Yeah, he said yes, and every piece of art he creative is for this point.
Okay, what comes first, the poems or the jade?
他问说，那这样子是哪一个先？是先有诗还是先有玉？
先有作品。当然，一件作品一定思考过很久才定型我要创作这件作品，那我要诠释它，我要这件作品要诠释什么之后，诗才会出来。OK。
So what he says, he has this art piece first. But before the art piece, he has something in mind already. So once this art piece form, or once he complete this art piece, he will put the poem into this art piece.
Okay, so the art comes first, then the poem, but they do work together, it seems like.
That's correct. Before the art piece, he need to have a thinking inside his mind already.
Honest, okay. And then it's like he's coaxing the art out of the jade.
所以你是把那个有那个诗是从这个艺术品产生出来的。
是，诗是从是生出来的，没错。Okay.
So the point is from the art piece.
Yeah. The poem sort of he carves the poem out of the jade. There we go. Awesome. That makes more sense, I guess, over here for our listeners. Guys, just thank you very much for logging in with us this morning. I know, well, it's morning for us, evening for you. I'm sure you guys are ready to bed down for the night. I just want to thank both of you for logging in with us and talking to us. And I think this will be a big help. And I think people are really going to be excited to hear from both of you.
他说他很感谢你们这么晚还留在跟我们做这个线上的连接，也是你们的作品，跟我们分享你的过程。他非常谢谢你们，也那个我们博物馆也非常谢谢你们。
就是看我的写实作品以外，我有2个系列，一个叫关怀大自然的系列，一个关照系列。我有一些原创性的一些作品呢，就是比方说蝉啊，还有那个骷髅头的前言，还有心动，还有我的华喜那些作品呢，其实是我的架构，那就是我的一寡禅啦，甲一寡真言啦。一个我家己的华喜的作品呢，那是我咧做我原创的用的一个最主要的精神。伊头咧问的是我写实的部分啦，因为我这边去有2种物件去，当然是种金雕甲银，迄内面呢主要的创作的这个精神有无共，这是我的禅修，我的修行酝酿出来一个禅的系列的作品，希望观众会当加看迄个对话。
Mr. Wu say all his art pieces have 2 major purposes. One is that you observe the reality. The other thing is to kind of feel what is his inside his mind of the Zen, particularly for the Zen purpose. So, for example, like ants or skull, those are all very important to him as his inner Zen observation. So he hoped the visitors can really feel the artwork, not just the artwork, but also what's inside the artwork.
Well, we definitely do. I know I do. So I definitely enjoy it. It's very special stuff.
伊讲个人伊拢有咧专心去看这物件，专心去了解你的作品。
谢谢。
All right, guys. Thank you very much for logging in with us. Both of you have been really great. James, you have been an amazing translator too. You've been able to sort of. I think me and you are laughing just as much as everybody. We're having a good time this morning.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wu Ching, and thank you, Mr. Huang Shou, for logging in with us on this episode of Beyond Bones. And everybody, when you come to the museum, go see Treasures in Gold and Jade. It is included with general admission to the museum. So go in there, and it's a feast for the eyes.